So, folks, I haven't covered an Asmongold video in a while. I wanted to know what that guy with his little rat clock and his blood wall and his, disturbing lifestyle. I wanted to know what he was up to. Okay, like what's he got going on? One of the biggest conservative content creators on YouTube. Well, what's he up to? Let's take a quick look. Okay, so I went over
Oh, yeah.
to his channel and there's this video called "This Man is an Absolute Fucking Patriot." And, I watch approximately 0 seconds of this video because I just immediately pause it, right? Because already on screen, I see maybe one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life, right? Which is that he's looking through his likes on Twitter, which in and of itself isn't that interesting. Content creators do what content creators got to do.
Currently researching Asmongold to prove to my friend he shouldn't get opinions from him.
Perfect. Perfect. Because I'm about to really put that nail in the coffin here. Now, one thing that immediately grabs my attention here is that Asmongold likes this video that is reposted by someone going by Zoomer, and I can't help but think to myself, hey, wait a minute. I recognize that username and that soy jack. I recognize who that is. And it's none other than the worst historian on YouTube, Zoomer Historian, who is an actual honest-to-God Nazi who does videos that are apologia for Rhodesia. Okay? Now, if you know anything about this, I did an entire video on this guy. And he also has deep ties to the UK fascist party. like, like he's an out and out Nazi. Okay, yeah. He did a video all about how Rhodesia is cool and based, for perpetuating the slavery and apartheid system. Uh, it's genuinely insane, right? So I, right off the bat, already know who this guy is. And number two, I know for a fact that whatever video Zoomer Historian is sharing is going to be extraordinarily racist. Now, I want to preface this by saying I haven't actually watched this video yet. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I am. Because I will also say that I did, before watching any of this, then go to the next order question. Wait a minute. Who is Vox Populi? Now, that's pretty interesting, right? I haven't really heard of any kind of network named Vox Populi, right? And what exactly prompted Asmongold to even be interested in covering this in the first place? In this initial screenshot here, essentially, we have feel like this guy has waited his whole life to say this incredibly eloquent and accurate appraisal of the failure of Western elites. Get this guy involved with the party immediately. This entire clip was an ad for Restore Britain. And then Asmongold says,
Yeah, so apparently this video was really, really popular.
how did this video get super popular? How did Asmongold become aware of it? Well, it got retweeted by Elon Musk. So that's why everyone is talking about it, because the world's richest man who bought a social media website to prioritize his posts so he could radicalize everybody else retweeted a video, no context added, right? But let's take a look. What is Vox Populi? You go to their Twitter account, of course. Got a story? Advertise your business? Got a query? And you just get coverage of different politicians in the UK, of course. You go down through here, see a bunch of interviews. It's not a whole lot of information on the surface about what this is about. You've got Vox Populi doing interviews with Restore Britain, right? Which, we'll talk about. But also, I went and I found the YouTube channel Vox Populi, and I found this the actual video here, right? One thing that immediately struck me upon looking at the full video is that it is an interview being conducted by Will Coleshill, or Coleshill. Not entirely sure how you pronounce that. Who is Will Coleshill? And I know that we're really going down a rabbit hole before we even really engage with the content, but I think it's important to understand what we're talking about. Well, Will Coleshill is actually a former lawmaker in the UK, and when you look him up, ex-councillor thrown out of Tory party among mob at Starmer incident. William Coleshill, head of conspiracy theory group Resistance GB at Fracas, as experts warn of rise of extremism. Yeah, so this guy is an anti-vaxxer who is in charge of an entire, conspiracy website. And he also works and moonlights as a reporter for this website, Vox Populi. Now, where did Vox Populi come from? The details on their website is scanty at best, right? But there is an interesting website here, Hope Not Hate, right? Which does give a brief blurb and also points out that they're related to Tommy Robinson, who is a fascist in the UK, fascist white supremacist. Vox Populi is a far-right news outlet broadly composed of young, up-and-coming British activists. These include Montgomery Toms, an anti-vaxxer who regularly makes a nuisance of himself by giving political speeches in packed tubes and train stations, James Harvey, the Norwich-based head of Students Against Tyranny, and Jonathan Wong, the organizer of Abolish Asylum Day, and close associate of Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad. So, they're not a really big channel, but it is kind of a collaboratory effort to have some kind of respectable veneer for essentially their far-right activism. That's what they're going for here, right? Now, one thing I found very interesting, and I'm not entirely sure how this fits in, but when you go down and look at the actual information for this particular interview, you get support our work. Okay. Vox Populi Media /donations. Okay. Subscribe to Vox Populi. Okay. Link to subscribe to them. And then you have follow Russian garbage human. And of course that caught my eye. What the hell is that? What the hell is Rush garbage human? So you click on that and it takes you to this account. Culturally English, ethnically Russian, you cannot coexist with people who want you dead and your children sent to re-education camps. Never give up your guns. And then the banner images is when we win, do not forget that these people want you broke, dead, and your kids raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. So, what the hell is this? Right? You start going down and it's just, this is, I shit you not, right? You get the pinned post, and then you get the first post on this channel, which appears to be just from retweeted a Nazi account, just straight up. It's scary, and then it's this post. The stark physical difference between young men and young women of the same age is severely understated. Relationships with significant age gaps are very obviously biologically advantageous. And then it's scary how young men now are physically stuck at 14 years old when they turn 18 due to lack of testosterone and late bloomerisms, while girls already look like they're already 25 years old by 17 due to estrogenic chemicals in our food and water, which is, again, maybe one of the most rapey things I've ever heard in my life directed towards children. It's genuinely astonishing, right? The far right is just openly embracing, the most pedophilic things I've ever seen posted. That's where the British right is right now. They're just, talking about how, it's totally fine to be attracted to underage girls.
Voice acting a Green Lantern who is fighting a far-right extremist group. Imagine the whiplash from these news sources we felt while recording.
Oh God, Attack on Pony Productions. No kidding. No kidding.
The hell are
Oh.
estrogenic chemicals in our food, WTH?
Yeah, honestly, I was so focused on the other parts of this that I forgot to address that part. So if you haven't been plugged into kind of what the far right has been talking about for a long time, you might have missed the whole idea that like the left is soy pilled, you know, filled with soy. And it's the idea that like soy and soy based products are filled with estrogen, and that is affecting the left. And the left is just feminized essentially by all of the estrogenic chemicals that the left ingests, right? Or eats. It's the idea that society has been weakened by femininity due to hormones in the waters or like some, and usually this then gets connected to like some kind of like global conspiracy around like trans people or, you know, the great replacement theory or, you know, just the Jews are doing it. It's just bullshit nonsense, but it's also part of why the Make America Healthy Again thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pushing is also connected with the fascist movement. You know, there is this belief that our foods and water supplies, etc., have been contaminated by estrogen, and we need to go back to something pure. You know, you can think of like Dr. Strangelove, our precious bodily fluids. You know, y'all, if you haven't, go watch Dr. Strangelove. It'll prep you for the times a little bit better. Okay, we have this entire thing going on, and also worth noting that Will Coles Hill, and Resistance GB also retweeted this and retweeted Asmongold reacting to this, and Will Coleshill points out this is Frank Reiter being interviewed. Now, who is Frank Reiter? Okay? Who is he? Well, turns out he's a fairly influential, not influential, but like a well-known writer within political circles in the UK. And you'll notice this little tag next to his name, Life. What is that? Well, it's actually a link to lifesitenews.com, right? And it has this blurb on him: cultural critic, writer, and Catholic activist. Frank Wright is a traditional Catholic who lives with his wife and family in rural England. He is a cultural critic from the Catholic point of view with extensive experience in foreign affairs journalism for LifeSite News. His forthcoming book, A Brief History of Liberal Democracy, has been serialized in part on his Substack, where he writes on the relevance of social teaching of Leo XIII and the work of Pope St. Pius X to the state we are in today. Right? It's like, oh, okay. That's pretty interesting, you know? And maybe we'll circle back around to this, but, you know, he's typically he's pretty out there on what he believes. And we're going to circle back to this video eventually. Just keep this in mind. We might do a two-parter just to make this not too long. But just so you know, we know who this guy is. And he's not a nobody. He is actually quite influential in far-right politics in the UK. Let's take a look now at Asmongold's take on this this video, right?
Okay, how many views has this video got so far? It's already had 1 million views. This is just a random... They apparently just randomly interviewed this guy on the side of the street.
So what has persuaded...
Just a random guy. He's just a random nobody. I love how Asmongold just does not give a shit about where his information is coming from. He just doesn't give a single goddamn fuck about what is happening here, or who is posting it, or why they're posting it. Why is this video getting hyped up by Nazis on Twitter?
Why did you come out today?
Well, we've driven up, my son and I, from Newbury, because obviously we can see the state of the nation and there's a national emergency, and we need to obviously think about the future. What kind of country are we going to have for our children? Or are we going to have a nation at all? Now, I'd rather live in a nation and not a market, not a borderless international supermarket browsed by mutually hostile strangers. not something that reduces us all to bargain hunters. We need to save the nation, and I think that Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain is the only credible vehicle to do that.
Jesus.
What was it that made you come over? What were the issues that pulled you to Restore, and what was the moment?
Well, you can see that there's obviously there's the bankruptcy of the general liberal idea. There's the fact that you get a sense that the Western idea and the ideas we've had since the Second World War are winding down themselves. And at the same time, you can't escape the fact that we appear to be morally as well as financially bankrupt across the West, across Europe.
It's so interesting what he says here, right? Let's break down what he's saying, right? The liberal idea is breaking down. The post-World War II order is dying. Now, when he says the liberal idea, the liberal experiment has failed, this is a fundamental rejection of Enlightenment values. This is the idea that effectively the idea of egalitarianism, the idea of, all people being equal, all people having the same rights, that these ideas are dead, that they have failed, and they have failed because essentially people from outside the country have come in and destroyed the heart of the UK. That's what he's talking about. This idea that, because liberalism exists, that means that culture has degraded. People have become more degenerate. What he's talking about is that gay people and transgender people have been allowed to exist publicly, and he's saying that's a sign of the moral decay of the West. Then he just tells a straight up lie, which is that the West is financially bankrupt. Now, this is just a lie, because the West isn't bankrupt. Money is just concentrated into fewer and fewer hands. In the post-World War II era, money and resources got distributed very widely for rebuilding efforts, for, essentially the reestablishment of, a kind of normal order, a status quo. Obviously, this had wide-lasting ramifications for the rest of the century, but the idea here that, all the money got used up, no, it didn't. It's why we have more billionaires than ever before. It's because the money got siphoned up into the hands of a handful of bullshit artists who came around and said, hey, what if we did a bank but online? And then they made a bajillion quintillion dollars and decided that they were going to continue to consolidate that wealth until they had a bajillion septillion dollars. That's effectively what happened here. We got robbed blind as a society by the richest men to ever exist, and they're continuing to rob us blind. But the idea that, the West is just bankrupt, no, it's just been taken by billionaires. Full stop.
And in Britain, that the whole system is in a form of crisis. If you like, what we used to call normal life has been replaced by a permanent state of emergency in terms of our social incohesion, in terms of demographic change, in terms of the fact that there appear to be no realistic solutions offered, and whoever you vote...
When he talks about demographic change, here, let's just break down what he said here.
Replaced by a permanent state of emergency in terms of our social incohesion, in terms of demographic change, in terms of the fact that there are...
In terms of social incohesion, what he's saying is multicultural democracy is a failure, because he essentially thinks that if you come from a different culture or have a different cultural understanding of the world, you cannot live together in a democracy. Or, I'm not even convinced this guy believes in the concept of democracy when he talks about the degradation of liberalism and liberal values, right? Because typically what that signals to me is a desire to regress to a previous time, like either fascism or monarchy of some kind.
I know it's not remotely the point, but look at how tiny this manlet is.
He is very small.
Appear to be no realistic solutions offered, and whoever you vote for...
But you know what? God also worked great things through David, and David was very tiny compared to Goliath.
Social cohesion is a racist dog whistle and kind of a joke.
I mean, yeah, the social incohesion thing is just bullshit malarkey. And it is, what this guy is saying is just gussied up white nationalist rhetoric. That's it. It is just, it's just, I can't stress enough the contempt I have for people like this.
The same mad policies get continued throughout your life, and that's what I've seen the last 30 years. And if it goes on, we're finished.
Oh, and demographic change, again, that's just new people came into the country. New people came into the country, and guess what? You know what? I was about to say, guess who they're upset about coming in, but genuinely, obviously they're upset about black and brown people going into the UK. That's obviously a huge part of it. But also, a lot of people in the UK are also pretty racist against other types of white people too. Like the Poles, for example, classically get discriminated against in the UK. So I'm not entirely, maybe I'm being too narrow when I assert that it's black and brown people here, because genuinely it could be a lot of other kinds of folks as well. So, let's keep going though.
Exactly. So what does finished look like?
What does finished look like? Finished looks like an economic collapse. Finished looks like spending all your money on foreign wars when nothing works in the country. Finished looks like you can't get a job for being competent. There's no sanity even in recruitment. We have a competency crisis because for increasingly ideological and insane reasons, employment opportunities, even training opportunities are restricted. Yes. There's one news story after another about why, for political reasons, we're doing mad things that bankrupt the country, that basically park people's careers, that exclude talented people of genuine principle from any area of influence whatsoever. And taken collectively, this is the politics and economics of national suicide. So it has to stop. And there's increasingly a sense, not just in Britain, but throughout.
Again, when he says people of skill and quality are being passed up in government, he's effectively trying to make the DEI argument, but in the UK. That's what he's doing. He's effectively saying, talented up and coming white men are being passed over for political reasons in favor of people that are demographically more advantageous to the people hiring, or that is what goes hand in hand with what this guy is talking about here. And every single racist in the UK knows exactly what he means right there when he talks about this.
The West, that something has to change. And I think that's only going to build as we begin to see the devastating consequences of the latest round of reckless warmongering in the Middle East.
All I am hearing is problems with capitalism, but of course he's making it a race thing. I am so tired of this.
Oddly, just as an FYI, right? I did look up to see, because this went mildly viral. I don't want to overstate it. There was an article in the UK about this in the Times. Let's see if I can pull it up here. And it was pretty interesting. Let's just take a look at their thoughts here. In Makerfield, a reporter conducted a street interview with a Restore supporter, Frank Wright, who had traveled from Newbury to help the party's campaign. The impressively articulate Wright said Britain was facing a moral, financial, and diplomatic crisis. Whomever you voted for, the same mad policies had been enacted to bankrupt the country. Britain had turned into a borderless international bazaar, where the competent were excluded from employment for holding the wrong views. The Tories' worship of the free market had demolished traditional communities.
My mediocre mate can't get a job. Bloody diversity.
Yep.
He is blaming minorities on the actions white people do to themselves when unregulated.
I mean, essentially, yeah. Right? Thank you for the $5 super chat. But it gets worse here. Thus far, Wright probably spoke for millions, but then he launched into a diatribe blaming all foreign wars, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, on Israel and the global Jewish conspiracy. Cool stuff.
Oh my God. He's just, bro. Oh my God. He's spitting so.
Asmongold is gonna eat this shit up. Like a dog in front of a bowl of dog shit.
So hard, yeah.
Which we should never have been involved in, but we're all going to have to live with those consequences. And from this summer on, we're going to see how bitter they are. And it's only going to get worse unless we change the system. And there's no real change that's offered by the parties of the forced consensus. That was the liberal establishment after the Second World War, and it doesn't work anymore, and it hasn't produced the utopia it's promised. It's produced a sort of hell on earth.
I love, it is interesting to me that every single one of these nationalist dudes, whether they're in the UK or in the US, will go in front of a camera and just be like, you know, multiculturalism has destroyed this country, and now it's a literal hell on earth for us, the racists. And it's like there's no shred of self-awareness whatsoever, where like they never look around and see that there are tons of people who are just like, actually, this isn't a hell on earth. This is my home where I like raise my kids, and like we walk the playground and like play with like the neighborhood children, and it's actually all totally fine. But instead they're just like every moment of every day they're just those black and brown people coming and living here. Oh, like they're just burning up with hatred, and you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live like that whatsoever. That's a hell of your own making. And it's a personal one.
A random guy on the side of the street.
He's not a fucking random guy. This is the thing. Asmongold just hides behind this shield of stupidity because he like lives within the Nazi bubble on Twitter and just doesn't ever question it. Because it's inconvenient to him to question it, because it would lose him a lot of viewership if he did. So he just allows himself to be the internet's stupidest man, the most gullible dupe that is able to get on with in front of a camera and basically try and make this all seem super based while having no arguments of his own and being completely and utterly ideologically incoherent whenever he actually gets asked about his positions. You know, he's willing to just nod along and say yes to any kind of fucking racist. And I think that's dangerous. You know, there's like I think that's pretty awful.
Canvassing for Restore Britain. Oh my God. Hey.
From which there seems to be no way out, but there is. There are people of genuine principle and genuine talent in this country. And the reason why so many people despair of that is because I think they've been systematically excluded from positions of power, influence, and professional advantage for ideological reasons that has bankrupted the country. But we have enormous human capital here. We're just not permitted to release it, because if you don't have the correct views, you don't get the job, you don't get any promotion. In fact, you might be harassed off social media and find yourself debanked, or at least your career is stymied.
This is...
You know, it always, within me, prompts the obvious follow-up question, which is, what political views are getting people held back? Because... you know, it's all well and good to say that broadly, but what views? It's kind of like the question around states' rights. You know, oh, the South seceded from the from the Union, you know, in order to protect states' rights. And the follow-up to that is, what rights? What, the right to do what? What did they want the right to do? And so I just have to follow up here. What points of view? What views are not acceptable to say in the workplace? Because I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be, you know, the kinds of views and ideas that would immediately get your coworkers to like throw hands.
Asmongold is platforming misinformation by not researching these topics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, Asmongold wallows in misinformation. Like, he thrives on it. Because he is the one who is misinforming on purpose. You know, it's inconvenient to him to know the truth.
Wrongs.
Unironically, we do, though. We do. Because only by knowing the mistakes of the past can we avoid repeating them. But let's keep jumping in. All right.
Is this V? I mean, it.
So what we need is a realistic economy, some return of human dignity to every area of life. Because, as I said, it hasn't just financially bankrupted us, it's morally bankrupted us too.
It has.
And we're looking at a state where you're going to live in a borderless international bazaar, a placelessness, if you like, an international nowhere land, where nothing means anything. Nowhere seems like home.
I love my country so much, but it's a living hell! A living hell! Like, you don't love your country, man. You're just a racist. You cannot conceive of sharing something you love with other people. It's crazy.
And where the essential value of human life is replaced with price, such as...
Bro, this guy, you're just doing this off the top?
Nah, dude, he wrote a fucking book on it. He's not doing it off the top of his head. But also, I want to point out, the economic problems he's describing are a result and a function of capitalism. Like earlier when I was talking about how wealth has been consolidated into fewer and fewer hands, that's because of the economic system we live under. That's because of capitalism. Capitalism functions as a giant siphon for wealth.
I miss open borders.
We all miss open borders. We all miss open borders. You know what Borders would never have done? You know what Borders never would have done, chat? They never would have greenlit selling AI books like Barnes & Noble. Hashtag don't buy books at Barnes & Noble anymore until they stop selling AI slop. Okay? Borders would never. All right? You know who else would never? Half-price books. All right? We love you, baby girl. Don't you go anywhere. Sorry, that did distract me. All right, back to this.
Like, this is really impressive. This is crazy, bro.
We see in awful things like surrogacy
tweets,
or
by the way.
0 hours contracts.
I'm... Okay, wait. I'm sorry. Like... Oh, God. It'd be wonderful if Asmongold does respond to my video. I would love him to actually respond substantively to it. Because honestly, the video he put out makes him look like a fucking bonehead. Makes him look like a big dumb man. And I would just like for people to demand a little bit better. Anyway, this man is now going on to attack the concept of surrogacy. And just like, oh, so people who can't have children shouldn't be allowed to have surrogate children? That's weird. That seems bizarre to me. I mean, it's not bizarre if you understand that this guy writes for like Catholic outlets and is a like Catholic advocate. It does make sense if you know where he's coming from, but if you don't, if you think he's just some random guy who has a beef with the concept of surrogacy, surely that should strike you as odd. Surrogacy? What the fuck? It's a white low fertility majority crisis? Jesus. It's not, guys, it's not even a fertility crisis. The reason you see a decline in birth rates is literally because underage children are getting pregnant less. That's a good thing. We need to find a path forward as a species that doesn't involve raping children. I think that's probably good for us to do, like to move beyond that period of human history where that was viewed as acceptable. The people trying to take us back to that, by the way, again, if you'll recall all of the very beginning of this video, who is pushed, what account is mainstreamed by the actual posting of the video. You can go all the way back to this interview and, oh, Russian garbage human, go to Twitter. Very first result is literally defending the idea of grown adult men finding underage teenage girls sexually desirable as like normal. Like this guy and his content and the interview that made this famous are literally directly associated with normalizing attraction to underage girls. I don't know, maybe that should give someone like Asmongold pause for the kind of content he's elevating with that thinking.
Or the increasing degradation of what you call a work-life balance. Finally, how many people actually do work? How many people are now dependent on the state, directly or indirectly, to the point where those...
Oh, and by the way, the reason a guy like this is against surrogacy is because he doesn't want gay people to have kids. Full stop.
People exceed the ability of the nation to actually make money. This is an economic doom spiral.
It is.
And so the more that you look at the problem, the more you realize that really we are facing a national emergency. And if you are going to take on the duties of the state, something more than self-interest or printing money for your own political friends, we need to do better than that. We need to take seriously the depth of the crisis that we're in, and we need people of genuine principle and talent to address that. And I think we've found them under Rupert Lowe and in Restore Britain.
You know what's insane is that this video has been less than 5 minutes, and I feel like he's communicated like 20 minutes of information. Really, like, this is insane. It's nuts.
He hasn't communicated 20 minutes of information. All right? Just as an FYI.
Asmongold calling into the line would make my day. I would love to see you, Jimmy, Matt, and Lux excoriate him. He never would, though.
Oh, he never would. No. But, like, this hasn't been 20 minutes of content. This hasn't been that. Instead, this is a guy basically trying to blame the problems of capitalism and, like, the ever polarizing level of wealth disparity in the UK and the United States, anywhere capitalism has flourished.
This
right?
is why we need more wingtips to counter the low fertility.
God damn it, Sake.
You know what slop gobblers like Asmongold won't do? Canvassing. Get
True.
your steps in canvass for a DSA or progressive candidate now. I got 11K steps in this weekend canvassing. It's good for you.
Hell yeah. You are 100% correct, Shoot Bang. But I wanted to talk about this because essentially Asmongold is just clapping like a seal here. Like, wow, he's conveyed so much information. But let's summarize what he's actually talking about. The government has destroyed things. And they've destroyed things by allowing multiculturalism and like different groups of people to come into the country and with their different birth rates, and now white people might become a minority at some point. In fact, if we go back to our good friend here, Russian Garbage Human, who's again associated with this, you scroll down a little bit here, you find this particular video, or GIF, I suppose. And it kind of summarizes the kind of fear-mongering that a lot of these far-right types in the UK do, which is, I want to stress, straight-up white nationalist racism. It's just bullshit fear-mongering, effectively. Like, the idea being here that, oh no, they are replacing us with black and brown people who aren't native to our lands. And, you can see here, goes up there. And that's kind of where this is at, right? But, like, it's just, this guy has offered nothing except identifying economic problems, and instead of blaming the economic system for said problems, instead, he's blaming black and brown people and, like, other undesirables for the breakdown of the system. And it's just not the fault of, like, multiculturalism and, like, different groups of people living in close proximity. That happens everywhere. The problem is that the economic model, capitalism, enables the consolidation of wealth to such a degree that then the people who have that wealth can buy political favors. And they often do it on both sides of the aisle, or build up two different power structures that effectively play off of one another, but are still largely playing the same game for the same donors. That's the problem. And if you are noticing that that is a problem, but you aren't then acknowledging the fact that the folks who have the money, the capitalists, are the ones playing the game, then you're failing to observe the bigger problem. You're failing to have a large enough view of the situation. Let's take a look. Obviously, this video continues for some time.
And so, do you believe that essentially it's the rhetoric of blood, sweat and tears that we need in this country?
No, I don't think we need any rhetoric at all. You see, that's partly the problem. For the last century, we've been ruled by the political technique of the liberal system, which is basically the rule by media. And what you do then is you use slogans and you use concepts and you attach people's hopes and dreams basically to messages for products that you're never going to deliver. That's how we're ruled. We are sold dreams. Our desires are stimulated by, if you like, the kind of ruling consensus. But none of these things ever happen. And instead what happens is what the elites want to happen. And so we get involved in these terrible economic doom spirals. We see the quality of our lives degraded as margins are shaved. Everything's subject to shrinkflation now. It's not just your chocolate bars.
And who is benefiting from that? Who is benefiting from that economic system?
That are getting smaller. It's
like he's speaking to the very real phenomena that people are being screwed over in the economy, that you're being given less and less while more and more is being demanded from you. That's real, but who is getting that more and more that is demanded from you? And the answer isn't, oh, all those dang immigrants. They're not the ones benefiting from the more and more that is taken from you at the supermarket. No, the people who benefit from that are the wealthy oligarchs. They are the capitalists. They are the ones propping up this system. It is the Elon Musks of the world, who I want to really point out here, if they were truly threatened by this kind of talk, if oligarchs really viewed this guy who's pushing for a farther right and more oligarch-friendly world, do you think Elon Musk would be sharing his interview? Elon Musk is sharing this guy's interview because Elon Musk is pushing for the same kinds of things this guy is, which is pro-corporate, farther right, more easily manipulatable people. That's it.
It's the value of...
It's not just the chocolate bars that are getting smaller.
Your wages.
It's the value of your wages. And he's completely right. So, do you remember...
Yeah, and I wonder who sets the wage. I wonder...
Reese's peanut butter cups, you used to be able to get 4 of them, and then you would get 5. Remember that? Because the normal one would be 4, but it would say you get an extra one. If you get 4, you get 5. You know what you get now? You get 4. Yep. You get 4 now. 2?
Genuinely, I think I guess I need to dumb down the level at which I talk about economic issues. Because if this is the level that is working for a lot of people, then maybe I need to resort to using more candy-based analogies. I think genuinely maybe that's the case. Right? Like, for example, if everyone is getting, their work earns a net total for the company of 5 Reese's cups, but then you are only given 4 Reese's cups, where did that 5th one go? Well, it was taken by your boss. And then your boss's boss's boss winds up with hundreds of Reese's cups while you just have the 4. And that's kind of how capitalism works, except that every day that happens until your boss's boss has billions of Reese's cups and you are barely making do with 4 Reese's cups a day. And God, you need fiber and like protein and like more because you're wasting away. You cannot subsist on 4 Reese's cups per day. It's impossible. So hopefully this has helped you understand capitalism a little bit better. It's a bad. Stop it. Don't get wise to the grift, friends. Get wise to the grift.
No. It was always too like.
I understand what shrinkflation is, but also he is not understanding anything that is not framed through the idea of candy bars.
I was a kid. It was always 2. You could get to 2, or you could get 5.
Your ability to earn a living. It's the kind of job that you have to do so. Usually a kind of dignity-free environment, right, where you're slowly choked to death by the lanyard and its terms and conditions. So if we have just more empty rhetoric we're not going to get anywhere.
Exactly. Yes, it's just more bullshit.
I also understand what this guy is advocating against, right? This guy's advocating against the existence of multicultural groups and multiracial groups, right? That's what this guy is advocating for. That's when he says liberalism has failed and it has failed because of multiculturalism and demographic shift. What he's saying is effectively the UK got too non-white and we need to make it either white again or we need to make it white again by deporting millions. What he's advocating for is a violent ethnic cleansing campaign. And Asmongold doesn't really think about the knock-on effects of that. He doesn't think about what that would mean, what that would entail, the amount of violence, the amount of destruction it would bring, both economic and physical, and of course moral as well, to engage in an ethnic cleansing campaign. But that's what this guy is advocating for. And Asmongold is either too dumb to understand that or willfully ignorant on that point. It has nothing to do with race. He has absolutely already tied it to race. He's talked about demographic shift. When a guy like this talks about demographic shift, he's talking about race.
Credible people of genuine integrity and experience and ability, who are committed to some higher purpose than themselves, than their own personal enrichment or their own mad ideological faction. We need a sense of higher purpose to see beyond the predicament that the rule by media has delivered us into, because it's delivered us all into a fantasy world that's turned out to be a nightmare.
Do you remember what I said? The hyper reality. This is exactly it. Yes, the hyper reality that everybody gets forced into. And it's all a lie. And it's being enforced by corporations and media.
The wild element of this is, again, when you look at the origin point, why this video even got popular in the first place. Why was it? It was because a billionaire who owns this particular platform hyped it up to millions of people, and Asmongold saw it as a result. Now he's talking about the hyper reality. It's all a lie. Brother, you live in the hyper reality. You exist wholly and entirely inside of an ecosystem built by a guy who did a Nazi salute multiple times and has made his entire presence online about boosting white nationalists and Nazis. And you are over here being like, yes, the hyper reality, I'm very intelligent, while living inside of his billionaire fucking bubble. Oh my God. The lack of awareness is crazy.
The whole reason why we have woke on the internet is because of corporations. It's because of corporations and money.
And those adverts, if you like.
I'm sorry, what?
Have woke on the internet is because of corporations.
Okay. No. And I know this because I've been around long enough to know that he's full of shit. All right? Before there were major corporations, guys like Asmongold still existed on YouTube and various forums on the internet, okay? And they were all upset about LGBTQ people existing back then too. They would just make fun of people on Tumblr. They'd make fun of the places where people felt more free to be themselves, to be openly gay, queer, what have you, right? That has always existed. And even before the internet, places like that existed. There's a reason why San Francisco was known as a, debauched lair of sin and villainy. It's because LGBTQ people could live there openly. And you know what? Bigots back then hated San Francisco then too. The idea here that wokeness only started because corporations pushed it on the internet. No. Y'all were hating woke people back in the 60s, back in the 30s, back in the late 1800s. Conservatives like you have always existed, clicking their tongues at woke people who opposed slavery or who fought for LGBTQ rights. Or, there's a reason why Martin Luther King Jr. died the most hated man in America, and it's because people back then, like Asmongold, were around.
It's because of corporations.
Yeah, the Satanic Panic, another one. Yeah, excellent.
And money.
And those adverts, if you like, for that system that Francis Fukuyama described as the end of history, the liberal system, he said, periodic elections plus cheap consumer goods. And that was the final verdict on the organisation of mankind, and we could never do any better. Well, it hasn't delivered, has it? The elections have delivered political paralysis in Britain and in France and in Germany, the major powers of Europe.
Yeah.
And so what's that electoral system doing? It's ground to a halt. And the economics of this, if you ask conservatives who basically market worshippers, if you sit next...
I'm so glad that they're hitting this on every point. Because he's totally right. Yes. Their market, exactly. Like, oh, you care about money. It's about money.
To them and say, look.
It is about money. For the people pulling the strings on this game, it is about money. You have to understand, for people like Elon Musk, it's all like a vanity game. Who can be the first trillionaire? Who can make their stamp on history to last the longest? It's all a vanity game. And they're all trying to make the most money. No capitalist is content with just some of the money. They push for all of the money. That's what they do, right? And so, I don't know. Asmongold is missing the mark on this one by a lot. Bloody Roses, thank you for the 1,000 jewels.
You've destroyed our nation, replaced it with a series of light industrial sheds, increasingly staffed by third world...
Again, it baffles my mind that, Asmongold is following and liking tweets from Zoomer Historian. Again, a guy who engaged in Rhodesia apologia. That's crazy to me.
Migrant labor. What has that concerned?
1 second. Let me link you guys the video. This is the original video. There. Yeah, retweet it, post it. I think this is the guy that posted, I'm not sure. Okay, I missed that part. Let me go back.
It's ground to a halt. And the economics of this, if you ask conservatives who basically market worshippers, if you sit next to them and say, look, you've destroyed our nation, replaced it with a series of light industrial sheds, increasingly staffed by third world migrant labor.
It's not about race, though. It's not about race, but the real problem is all of this third world migrants coming here to do work.
I will never understand what people see in Osmo. He has utterly no understanding of anything that comes out of his mouth.
It's genuinely baffling, right? There should be a higher standard here for people who are watching Asmongold shit. Respect yourself enough to, get, a better input here. I also just want to say, again, from my perspective, right, a bunch of people coming to do work and to live alongside you, share their culture, share their ideas about the world, that's something that makes a country stronger. Right? It literally makes a country stronger to have a larger workforce.
We all remember the fake meat outrage of the 2010s. The Satanic Panic.
God damn it, Saki. You're too good. You're too good. And thank you for subscribing. You think it's about race because their country of origin means they have dark skin? Well, it's partly about race, but I also did clarify at the top of the show that I'm sure that this guy is the kind of racist UK man that also is very, against different ethnicities coming into the country. The kinds of folks who are all about the Anglo-Saxons but hate the Poles with every fiber of their being. That's the kind of vibe this guy gives off. And frankly, that's the kind of vibe most racists in the UK give off. All right? But the idea here that people who want to come into your country to do work is a bad thing. I want to remind folks that, labor is literally a resource. It is a vitally important resource for work to get done. You can't do work without labor. There is not a finite number of jobs in any given country. There's just not. You can have like an expansion of available jobs to meet the amount of labor you have, which in turn nets benefits down the line. That's the relationship. Labor does work, and work has value. The more labor you have, the more work can get done, and the more value you can generate for your society. The ideology that he is pushing right now is literally an economic dead end that will result in the destruction of the UK. Right? That's the irony here. The irony is that this guy's view on the economy, on what is destroying the UK, if he had his way, he would cut the workforce of the UK by like a fourth, and deport hundreds of millions of people, devote exponential amounts of resources to like detaining people and sending them overseas. And in turn, who's going to benefit from that? No one. The economy is going to shrink. Less work is going to get done. The UK will be worth less. And in turn, there will be less value to be redistributed to folks via social safety nets, like, the National Health Service. Like, it is just a way to effectively get the UK to kill all of its social safety programs, and then you guys can live in the same kind of capitalist hellscape that the people in the US live in, where you guys get to get denied for pre-existing conditions, and where you guys get to navigate a privatized healthcare service. That's the end result of an ideology like this guy's. It's economic suicide.
What? Light industrial sheds increasingly staffed by third world migrant labor. That just about says it, doesn't it?
They've allowed so many immigrants into the country, the core infrastructure such as NHS has crumbled. No, NHS has crumbled because it has been systematically defunded by conservative groups over like the last 20 years. In turn, it has also been privatized in parts. The degradation of NHS isn't because of immigrants who work and contribute to the general UK economy, who actually generate more wealth and income for services like NHS. It is because of the systematic deregulation of NHS and the destruction of it at the hands of the, conservative government. I mean, you can frankly look at what they've tried to do with trains in the UK just to see what I'm talking about. Y'all tried to privatize some of your train networks. It worked like shit. You went back to being publicly owned and used.
Yep.
What has that conserved? It's demolished everything. Everything that they claim to believe in about Burke and his little platoons, about traditional communities and traditional values, has basically been suborned to market worship. And
it's because they only cared about it to make money. That's why.
Pure profit. Mm-hmm. We need something more than money. We need something more than empty ideological slogans. We need real change for people's real lives, for a change. And I think the crisis that the West generally is facing, politically, diplomatically, morally, and financially, gives you the opportunity to make the kind of deep-rooted change that you need to save the nation.
Yeah. What?
And use me next, please.
Nathan, thank you for the $5 dono. But also, the change that this guy's talking about, again, is just mass ethnic cleansing, frankly.
You see, this is... man. This guy's English? Yeah, see? Is this person real? Yeah.
And where is it you think
John
that
England?
reform has fallen into, these traps are falling for this? Because obviously you've chosen restore over reform.
Yeah.
And you've already mentioned the Iran war. And they obviously want to back the Americans.
Well, this is a difficult question to approach.
He wants to save the nation from what, though? That's the thing. He wants to save the nation from third worlders coming in to do labor in the country. Oh no. Not people who want to come in and do work and build lives. The horror.
If you're not the kind of sad person with no life like me who actually gets into this, but... The Americans didn't choose that war freely on their own, did they? They've admitted severally, their own chief diplomat Marco Rubio and many others, the leader of the House...
The kid behind him, who's almost as tall as he is making me laugh.
Oh yeah, that's his kid, by the way. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. It is funny to see just like the head bob in the background.
And have said that this was a war for Israel because Israel was going to launch that war. And so the real fundamental question is who basically rules the United States, because that war is definitely not in the national interest of the Americans. In fact, I personally predicted this along with others at the beginning of January. This has led to a strategic defeat of the United States. It's broken its military presence, its credibility. It's now seen as agreement incapable. That means in diplomacy, nobody believes your promises. So no one's going.
Yeah, I mean, he is right about this part, but like literally any dumbass could look at what the United States has done from a geopolitical perspective and identify that Donald Trump fucking bumbled right into a fucking trap and is now making it worse with every day that passes.
Going to make any deals with you because you constantly break them, and what's worse with that, you then assassinate the people that you were trying to make the agreements with in the first place. Incidentally, the straits were open before you did this, and you killed the man who placed a religious prohibition on the development of nuclear weapons, you know? And then your big idea is to bomb everybody so they love you. I mean, this is insane. It doesn't make sense. There's no interest in the national interest at the political elite level in the West, whether it's in the United States or whether it's in Britain or whether it's in Europe. And that's the reason why these political parties are seeing themselves decline dramatically in popularity, because they're not delivering for their own people.
Now, I do want to make clear one thing, which is that he is essentially also asserting here that, you know, the United States didn't choose this war because Israel controls the United States. That's just not true. It is one of the ways that like certain far-right folks are trying to justify, you know, what has happened. You know, they're trying to like dissociate Donald Trump's decision and like absolve him of any kind of culpability in making the decision to invade Iran or to attack Iran, right? But Donald Trump is the leader of the United States of America. And frankly, he can just tell Israel to fuck off and do whatever he wants. The power dynamic is not Israel controls America. The power dynamic is America controls Israel. And the reality of this is, you know, maybe it's Donald Trump sundowning hard, but you cannot divorce Donald Trump and the far right from this decision. It is something that they have wanted to do for a very long time. It is not something, it's something that if Donald Trump wanted to, he could end it today. He could end it right now. And he chooses not to, right? He chooses not to. It is not true that the United States is controlled by Israel. Donald Trump is doing this to flatter his own vanity. And I do think there is some truth to the idea that maybe Israel tried to convince him and may have successfully convinced him that this would be easy, that this would be short, that this would be an easy success like Venezuela. But now we're in the quagmire. And now it's making him look bad. And he's still continuing to double, triple, quadruple down on this. Right? So I think that it is, again, an indicator of Frank Wright's views when he brings this up. And, you know, I think maybe we'll get there eventually in this clip.
He's right about that. Like, that's the reason why. Is that you have a lot of people that, like, I mean, again, like the Iran war, like, a lot of people get mad about this or whatever. I will tell you this. I don't care. Like, like, the Iran war is like a minor issue to me. It really is. It's a minor issue. Like, the important issues are like making sure that people are able to, you know, grow up in a country where they're not a stranger in. People being able to have jobs, etc. Like, I don't really care about this a lot.
Yeah, because when have oil prices ever affected what jobs people can get? When has the global oil economy ever caused, like, I don't know, a significant downturn in economic prospects on a global scale? When has that ever happened? Except so many different times throughout, like, the last 50 years alone. Also, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. What is this? Yeah, I mean, when did this run? This literally ran 3 days ago. Once a partner in the war, Israel has been largely left out of the peace talks, a humbling setback for its prime minister with significant risks for the country. I mean, I do want to say this also attributes a large degree of like validity to the peace talks, which I am not at all convinced by. Like, I gotta be honest, the peace talks I think are just a full-on scam. Like, I'm not entirely sure what the goal is with these peace talks, but I don't think if there is one that it's achievable for the United States, number one. And number two, like, just earlier today, the United States did defensive strikes across Iran, despite there being a ceasefire allegedly in place, despite there being a 95% negotiated deal, with just another 5% related to, you know, uranium enrichment and the Strait of Hormuz, you know, the two biggest things. So, like, I view what is happening right now as effectively market manipulation, you know, in an effort to, like, change public opinion on what's happening in Iran. For example, it was Memorial Day weekend this past weekend. The defensive strikes took place today. It's Memorial Day right now. And I just think that, like, a lot of the, oh, we're negotiating, we just had big talks, all of that to be followed up with a strike on Memorial Day, to me indicates they're not serious. They're just playing the markets. The more the war gets dragged out, the more Iran wins. Exactly. Time favors Iran here. The longer they can strangle, like, the global oil economy, like, the more damage they economically do, like, the better off they are having established a deterrent effect. I think Donald Trump knows that, but I also think that he's just trading on making news and making a shit ton of money. The level of stock trading right now in the United States government from officials like Donald Trump is off the charts. The level of corruption is insane. Like, the number of trades being made by Donald Trump literally caused, like, one of the long-term analysts over at Fox to, like, have a conniption. I forget what his name is. He's the guy that's on, like, all of the trading, the money shows. I don't watch those enough to actually know his name, but I know he's famous. You guys, I'm sure one of you is going to tell me what his name is in like 5 seconds, but we're going to move on. If somebody can get me that clip, though, I'd be grateful.
So if I hear something that I disagree with, it doesn't trigger me or get me upset.
Jim Cramer. Yes. Someone get that link for me, please.
Because there is a larger, greater goal here that exists that transcends a individual war. I don't care about that.
The way that they rule is for the interests of the rulers, not the ruled. Mm-hmm. And you can see that there, because these wars are mad. And it's not just the Iran war. These wars are mad from the point of view of the national interest of any Western nation, because it didn't deliver anything for them other than misery and chaos. And in fact, if you look into the history of regime change, not only did it come about because of Benjamin Netanyahu saying that he wanted the West to...
seem to care all about the Iran war, though it could just be you cover it and state your opinions. Well, I care about it, right? But, like, the thing is that this is my outlook, right? Is that it's not important for me to get complete alignment with people that I think are generally on my side. Even though I disagree with his conclusion of, like, what the Iran war is, this person is fundamentally on my side. It's obvious they're on my side. So just because there's a difference of opinion in a specific topic, that doesn't really matter a lot to me. Because there's 500 other topics that there isn't a difference in opinion on, right? Does that make sense?
Place diplomacy with a war on terror from 1979.
Ah, found it. Thank you, chat. Appreciate it.
But, the president, the U.S. government got in. They could sell it and give that
and
the
according
number.
to the filings, the president's been trading some intel in the quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, trade.
Got nothing to say about it?
Well, yeah.
All right, don't worry. We're not having technical difficulties here, everybody, but we got to go.
Jim, we'll see you tonight. Mad Money, 6 p.m. Eastern.
I do need to watch it one more time. I'm sorry.
Well, the president, the U.S. government got in. He could sell it and
yes,
give that
and
the
according
number.
to the filings, the president's been trading some intel in the quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, trade.
Got nothing to say about it?
Well, yeah.
All right, don't worry. We're not having technical difficulties here, everybody, but we got to go.
Jim, we'll see you tonight. Mad Money, 6 p.m.
Yeah, it turns out ever since he got into office, he has been trading like crazy. And since on May 8th, he filed over 3,100 additional trades on the stock market off of information that he is privy to as President of the United States of America. We have the President of the United States of America personally trading on information known only to him. This is the kind of shit that absolutely needs to get every single politician that engages in it sent to fucking prison. I don't care if they're on the left, I don't care if they're on the right, every single politician, if they get caught doing this shit, like they have Donald Trump dead to rights on right now, this should get you sent to prison for life. This is a betrayal of the country. If they're all doing it, they all should go to prison.
But when it went on to do this,
I mean, every single legislator should be barred from stock trading. Every single person, every governor, every senator, every state senator, every congressperson, like any staffers that work in politics, all of them, like consultants, barred from trading in stock.
Did it produce? The reason we have a mass migration crisis in Europe is because of the wars in the Middle East that the United States has wholeheartedly fought, which serves only the grand strategy of the Israelis. That's the reason why you had millions of people come into Europe in 2015 from Syria. That's the reason why, as Colonel Gaddafi predicted in 2010, he went on French...
He did say this. Gaddafi did say this.
Television and said, if you kill me, Europe will turn black. And then in Operation Odyssey Dawn, when they did kill him, when Hillary Clinton and David...
Oh, it's not about race. He literally says it's about race.
Cameron killed Gaddafi.
Europe will turn black. The horror!
Rather brutally, Europe did turn black because Libya was a gateway that wasn't open then. And so was Syria. And then so was Iraq. And so when you smash these countries, what happens? People flee and routes are established, and that becomes a business. Mass migration is a criminal enterprise. It's a racket. People pay thousands of dollars to be shipped into your country.
And by the way, that was proven. And like, obviously, I don't think it's entirely true because people from Pakistan and India that are there too, right? But like, either way, like, remember all those people that were saying that they paid a bunch of money to like an organization to like get them shipped over?
His trust holds an ETF, JPI, JPQ, more fake news. He literally is mandated to do financial disclosures. Look, you can actually access them as you are a member of the public. Here it is, released in all of its glory from the United States Office of Government Ethics. And wow, look, and it's fake news. No, you can literally access this on your own. You don't need me to like facilitate it. It's available to you. It's why they're talking about it in the Wall Street Journal, in Fortune. It's why they're talking about it in all of the financial news. It's because the president is mandated to disclose this information to the U.S. government. He's got to do it. It's the law, and it's one of those laws where, weirdly, as a rich guy, he feels compelled to actually follow those particular laws.
Or to, what was it, Portugal or something like that, in order to work there? Yeah, exactly.
This becomes a parallel economy. It's part of the corrupting influence of the business of mass destruction itself.
You can blame it all on me.
Oh, God.
People are beginning to see that now because they're seeing that it's going to make changes in their pocket, the price of their petrol, the availability of their food through the scarcity of fertilizer. The cost of living is going to go up. Governments like the Labour Party and probably like Reform are going to borrow more in order to defray those costs, which will further devalue the value of your money.
Or, you could tax the wealthy Like, all of this is predicated on, well, we're going to have a financial spiral, and it's all because of the immigrants. Instead of pointing at the very obvious way you could fix this problem, which is by taxing the wealthy so that they pay their fair share. That's how you actually fix this problem.
Honestly, I don't understand why he even bothers with his filings anymore. Who's going to come after him? The IRS?
I mean, I do think that there is an element of him that is afraid of being held accountable post-presidency. I think he has kind of accepted that he is not going to be around for a third term. Like, if for no other reason than because of age. And I think that he is, to some extent, afraid of some kind of consequences for his fucking around. He's worried about the finding out part of that.
Making it harder and harder to survive. It's a death spiral. Fundamentally, the decades of regime change wars that I've seen have changed one regime more than most, and that's our own. Because I remember when we used to live in a sane, functioning, stable, and relatively happy country. And now it's terrible. And all these policies have been undertaken which have created this nightmare. And it's the political consensus that was formed after 1945 that's done this to us. And the reason...
I'm glad that he's bringing this up, because I do think that this has all been created because of the Nazis and Hitler. I think that's the reason why Europe has this internalized sense of guilt for allowing everybody into the country. It's because they got totally one-shot by Hitler. And because now Hitler was so bad, they think that anything in terms of not letting infinity people into your country is the same as Hitler. And decolonization? Yeah, exactly, right?
That's one of the most politically incoherent things I've ever heard in my life. Like, that's not what the political order was post World War II. They got one shot by Hitler, so to speak, and their resolution there was that they would never allow fascism to rise again. That was kind of like the compact that they arrived on as, as far as you can, generalize all European nations, right? And that doesn't mean that they were like, we can never control our borders again. That's not what that means. What it means is adopting hardened democratic values that reject any kind of fascistic veneer or aspiration and move forward into the future, leaving that in the dustbin of history. Now, I do think that more countries should be open to allowing immigrants, because I think immigration is a net positive for basically every country that accepts immigrants, right? Immigrants perform labor, immigrants share their culture, they diversify the pool of ideas in a way that can have some massive benefits. Like, there's a lot of reasons to embrace immigrants to your country. The idea here that you shouldn't accept immigrants because otherwise you're playing into the guilt of allowing Nazis to defeat your country. This is weird. This is weird. I don't think it actually reflects any real insight or values at all here. I think this is just Asmongold looking and stretching for like a convenient excuse that doesn't actually require him to apply any critical thinking.
Millions of white men died too because that stupid war. Well, I mean, overwhelmingly, that's what it was, right? I mean, cool. Like white guilt. Yeah, exactly. Dude's waited his entire...
Millions of white men died in that war? Oh, boy. Oh, no. Oh, they're just like straight up, like they're just being straight up white nationalists in his chat.
Our life to be interviewed? Yeah, I guess so. It goes back further to the 30s. No, again, like I have no interest in like going back and like saying like this is when it happened or like Weimar Germany or where the fuck. Like I get it. I understand what you're saying, but like it makes it's a deep seated fear. Yeah, exactly.
And why none of these parties have any answers to these problems.
That was exclusively the Germany. The rest of Europe had no part of that guilt. I think that they do. It seems to me like they do. I don't think it's that simple. Obviously, Germany is the main part of it, but I think it's other places in Europe too.
Yeah, all of you self-hating Europeans constantly racked with guilt for losing to the Nazis during the Blitz. Yeah, how dare you guys have internalized that? That's why you guys have liberal democracies. How dare you? Those aren't liberal democracies out of a love of democracy. Those are guilt democracies.
Is because
can't be because they hate fascists. Must be because they feel guilty. That's the only explanation for the democracy. That's an actual insane argument to make.
They are the problem and not the solution. And if they ever name the fact that it's their policies that have caused this, they're finished. And I think reality's making that argument now, and they know they're finished. And this is why you see the elites in the United States cashing out through series of well-documented financial trades timed to statements always made on Fridays just before the markets closed, like we saw yesterday, saying that peace is coming. This is so bad that the federal security...
Yeah, because they're trying to protect their investments, and they're also... Yeah, like, you're just describing the mechanisms of capitalism, but aren't actually identifying the problems as related to capitalism. You're just blaming all of the problems of capitalism on Black and brown people, literally. And like, I want to remind everyone, this is maybe one of the oldest tricks in the book. Like, when you look at companies and bosses in the period of time, after the Civil War, for example, in the United States, you had bosses developing this idea that like, oh, no, we can't pay you white workers anymore, because these black guys are coming to work for us, and they'll work for even less than you. They're coming for your jobs. And like, instead of turning the ire from like workers that were coming together to ask for better wages, instead, those early unionizing efforts were broken by these appeals to racism. And it's the same fucking thing from like the 1870s, just rearing its head again in 2026. Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely the same fucking excuse that racist Confederate businessmen, ex-Confederate businessmen, would give to their workforce about why they couldn't be paid more. Oh, and yes, Clown Royal, it's still a big tactic today to use to like bust up unionizing efforts, to play off different elements against one another against each other so that the union falls apart, right? It's a whole thing.
Commission is investigating the President of the United States and his inner circle for insider trading now, because it's obvious. So you're ruled by something that looks very much like a fanatical crime syndicate that does things that destroys everyone's lives, makes these wonderful promises to them, whether from the left or the right. But in the end, what you get is chaos.
And you don't get what you voted for.
And open borders and mad slogans and the outright denial of reality. And it's not good enough because we have to live in the mess they made.
What's the Twitter for Frank?
Yeah, the Twitter is Frank Reiter, Righther, Frank Reiter. And inevitably, depressingly, I have a Substack. And I do videos for LifeSite News.
Absolute fucking patriot. And again, you might disagree with some of the finer points on this. You might think...
Just want to really, again, reiterate, the guy that he is following and liking for this post is literally a Nazi that I've covered in the past who does apologia for Rhodesia. So, again, if you guys would like to check out that video, it's on my channel. Maybe I'll link it in the description. It's quite something.
That there are some things that he's wrong about or whatever, and that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, I can look at this person and say that this is a person that's on my side, that is on the side of Western culture, that is on the side of, continuing to, be able to have countries and have sovereignty. And at the end of the day, that matters to me 1,000 fucking times more than the opinion about the Iran war, right? Or something else. I don't really care about that one thing. There are a lot of other things that go into that, right? And so yes.
Hearing you don't get what you voted for from Asmongold has got to be a cruel joke.
Yeah.
And this is what he said. This is the guy, right? And I'll link you guys his account. Oh, this is just a post I've seen. Another final crazy moment. You want to see it? Okay, give me 1 second. Let me look at that in just a second. Besides the whole Iran war, he's going to be on point. Yeah, I mean, and again, like, that's... The thing is that he's going to have his own opinions on that. That doesn't really matter. Like, what matters to me is that there's an alignment on the ideology, right? That's it. The liberal West has normalized the reduction of human life to a financial transaction with surrogacy. This explains why BBC describes an Afghan man trading his daughters into sex slavery to defray his debts as a difficult choice. Moral nihilism in cause and effect. Man. What a guy. Ukraine is resuming its status as a hub for trafficking of women and children. Surrogacy is a major driver in this trade of human life, being the hire of women to produce babies for sale.
Jesus. So, again, here's Asmongold realizing, maybe this guy wasn't just some guy off the street like I initially portrayed.
Conservatism, transphobia, and Zionism better be in the DSM-6.
God, they gotta be. They gotta be. Like, this is some genuine brain-rotten, mushy bullshit. You know? Like, this is some pretty terrible shit. And also the fact that, like, Asmongold's just eating up the anti-surrogacy thing like it's a normal point for someone to make.
Man. And he's a Catholic, obviously. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but that's it. The update on that is wild. I know, it's actually just bleak, though. It is. Is there one more people want me to look at? Oh, what is... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, not another one of these. Here, let me finish this before I do it. I do have to say that this guy, I mean, again, we have so many of these guys that are inside of politics. And really, I mean... I think that there should be more acknowledgement for the fact that there's a lot of these average guys that are just well-spoken, thoughtful people that want to see the country be a better place, right? I mean, that's it. And I think fundamentally, that's where he's at. That's where it matters. And
you know, he's just one of those hardworking guys. You know, one of those hardworking white nationalist guys in government who's working to make the country whiter, you know? He's one of those guys who you can really count on in a pinch, you know, if you're white. You know, we need more people to set our government white. I mean, right. Like, man, it is truly incredible that the degree to which this guy is normalized on, like, Twitch, on YouTube, all that, and he's just straight up echoing Nazi talking points.
And awful, you chose to have unprotected sex, you sell your children, fucking disgusting. Well, it is disgusting. Of course it's disgusting. And interesting tower.
That's not... Okay, so the right's conception, no pun intended, of surrogacy is that woman goes out, has unprotected sex, and then decides to sell the fetus growing inside of her? That's not how surrogacy works. I'm genuinely baffled. This shit is degrading to listen to. It is! Like, it is frankly insulting to all of your intelligences that we have to pay attention to this. Unfortunately, this guy is one of the most viewed individuals in far-right content. This was uploaded 16 hours ago. It has 711,000 views. His channel has 4.5 million subscribers. It is truly depressing how popular this racist slop can be. We're almost done, though. We're in, like, the final minute.
Or Babel picture? Well, I think that the goal is right there. It's pretty obvious. Tell the truth to shame the devil. Yeah, please link the video again. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I can link the video again. There it is. And there it is. It's kind of based. Yeah, he's extremely based. And a lot of people have talked about this post so far, and I'm very glad about this. I'm happy about it.
I'm really glad about it. I'm happy about it. It's so cool. Like, this is the kind of shit shared around by members of the KKK. Like, this is some genuine real deal Nazi far-right bullshit. And I'm really sick of people giving this man a pass because he did World of Warcraft content back in the day. It's a broad term to be saying, I don't know, you know, when the shoe fits, what can I say? If you don't want to be labeled with such a broad label, maybe don't be embracing neo-Nazi white supremacist dribble. The hyperbole of talking about the KKK and Nazi is old. I'm not being hyperbolic. I don't know how much clearer I can be. It's not hyperbole. I've been on the internet. I know where the seedier corners of it are. I can go there and I can find people talking about this shit. I can find the people who are sharing it. And in fact, the people sharing it in Asmongold's video are fucking Nazis. So, worth pointing out.
I called Asmongold a poss recently and my friend wanted me to substantiate it with evidence. To summarize, I didn't have a lot of concrete stuff and the out-of-context excuse was used a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of people on the far right these days have been relying on long-form content specifically to give themselves those kinds of defenses. Oh, you're just clipping me out of context. I hope that I'm providing you guys enough context on this video to let you guys know that I'm not developing my opinions on Asmongold out of context. They are fully in context. And what I find is absolutely abhorrent to basically any human being of conscience and moral fiber. Why are the ACLU and other liberal funds funding the KKK? Well, fun fact, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about, in particular, the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I have talked about this on stream before, but the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of their first actions as an organization was specifically geared towards taking down the KKK. In particular, the Southern Poverty Law Center, throughout its early years, paid informants within the KKK to specifically be able to back cases and civil suits against the KKK while feeding information to the federal government about the extremist group's actions. So very specifically, the actions of the Southern Poverty Law Center led to the downfall of the KKK. They got bankrupted by the Southern Poverty Law Center because of the actions of the SPLC and the actions taken by the FBI. These are well documented, these are well known, and frankly, the narrative that you're engaging in right now is directly downstream of the fact that Republicans think you're too stupid to look up the history of the organization yourself, and are instead feeding you lies, banking on the idea that you're too young to have heard about this as it was all happening, which anyone who was alive at the time would have been able to tell you is exactly what went down. So, anyway, it wasn't just the Southern. Yes, a lot of organizations paid informants within far-right
Otherwise, these
groups.
Fascist fucks will gain even more power. Make the fascists sad.
Indeed. Make the fascists as sad as fucking possible. Make them so sad, they go elsewhere. Lady, you're assuming a lot? I don't know. I feel like the person making assumptions and not knowing their history is you. But, you know, I could be wrong. Maybe you're an expert on the SPLC. All that being said, folks, we've come to the end of our segment. If you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about that. Was that an exciting up-and-comer in politics? Or was that some racist dribble? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. And also, consider sharing this around, because, you know, it helps the channel grow. Share it around. Say, hey, what do you think about this? I'd love more input. And also, folks, organize. That is the future of any good, well-meaning political movement. You got to get organized in your communities. It's not enough to just know the correct politics anymore. You have to be acting on those politics. So join your local Dems, join your local DSA, get involved in making your Democrats not shit and making your DSA more effective, okay? Let's organize the working people of this country and actually get a country and a government that works for us instead of the wealthiest people to ever exist. So, all that being said, get organized, join our Discord. If you need help taking those first steps, we can help set you up with your local DSA. Reach out to Gamergy, or with your local Dems, reach out to Dragonfly. We've got professional organizers who have been doing it in their organizations for years, and they're willing to put their expertise on the line to help you. So make use of that. We want people to get involved. And all that being said, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, non-tucking lingerie. Go check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down in the description. And let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat.